We are stepping back in time again. We are at History Park in San Jose, and there's a train over here that looks like Disneyland. Let's go closer. So this park has a bunch of old historical buildings, such as these stables that you see here, and hopefully it was pretty stable in building this up. Get it? But you see there's actually a train over here. Let's see if there's more about this. So this is actually constructed in 1913 and retired in 1957. And it was the thing that brought food around through San Jose back in the day, all across the Santa Clara Valley. So you see here, it's a pretty large train that goes pretty far back. Not, as always, I compare everything to Disneyland, and this is actually significantly larger than the locomotive at Disneyland. So pretty cool train setup that they have here. Like I said, very large locomotive. They have this older streetcar running up here. So it actually feels a lot like you're on a back lot somewhere. There's a lot of historic homes and buildings in the area, and basically farmland, I believe farmland was donated to bring about all these buildings that you see here, and they were relocated here so people would have a sense of the history of the area, including these tiny little cabins that we see here, which was a migrant farm workers' house, and you can see they were not the most large of housing areas, but they kind of have a little more information here for the various types of you know, farm workers that would work in the valley. And just curious if you can peek inside. They kind of have a few props and things on display. This hotel across the way, it looks pretty cool, so we'll check that out in a little bit. But right now we're gonna go down this way, and it looks like some more, there's a fruit barn up here where they likely used to dry fruit, I would imagine. We'll see if I'm right in a second. So according to the sign, it's actually more just to store fruit rather than drying it. Well, I can't speak today. That's what those barns were across the way. Looks like a very nice wraparound porch home. And then this way, if we continue walking, is what I think is a well house. Let's see. Well, I mean, it looks like it. Huh. Nothing really on this side. No sign, but we'll continue to look. And over here, this way, we actually have an old style post office. It's very bright right here. Hold on. There you go. There's the sign for the old post office. Let's see what the sign says. This is when Monterey Road served as a cattle trail, and Mission Road between San Francisco, Santa Clara, Monterey. Coyote Post Office was once the oldest surviving functioning post office in Santa Clara County before it's moved to the museum in 1974. So it was built in 1862 and ran until 1882. So an older building with the U.S. Post Office sign. Yeah, not the largest of buildings, but a very old post office. Let's see what this sign up here says. Okay, it's basically just that the post office has been restored. as we see. So kind of crazy that, you know, mail and important things would come through a very, very small little building, but I'm sure in those days it was probably a normal size. So there are a lot of historic homes here, and this one specifically was built in 1876. And the key thing about these older homes is that they are not very large. That's very noticeable about them, is that they're pretty small compared to homes by today's standards. But it makes sense that, you know, people would have had less resources and or were smaller back then, and so were the homes. So that's kind of the street here, which does remind me quite a bit of Universal Studios. That, like the, what is it, the Colonial Street, where the houses are for the different movies and sitcoms. It's funny, I'm being pretty quiet here because it feels like a library, even though we're in a park. It feels like a library type of setting. So I keep kind of looking around, but I think I'm mainly hearing squirrels, or maybe I'm just thinking I'm being watched by these guys, by this tree specifically. It's watching me. So this house was built in 1868, and I should probably step back. And it's another, just another example of, again, a pretty small, I know I reach for the camera like that right now. It's an example of a pretty small house, not very huge by any standards. The key thing I should say that I remember about older houses is that the doorknobs seem extra low to the ground in comparison to where doorknobs are now. Just the thing I've noticed with older houses. Again, could be because people were shorter back then. I feel like, you know, I could have probably been decently tall, which would have been nice. But it's weird to think that the people in this photo here are standing basically just about over here. So it's kind of crazy to think they were in this, well, before the house was moved, in this spot in relation to the house. So when this was more of a rural area, there were one-room schools, like the schoolhouse that you see here, and it actually said it was built for $2,000, which is just crazy, especially by Bay Area standards, where a house even this size I should say, would probably cost roughly $1 million now. And that's not an exaggeration. As would this house that we see over here. There goes the streetcar again. I don't know if that's a free thing to ride, but there are a lot of people riding it right now, so, and it looks like it's come to a complete stop down there. It is kind of crazy to think how, you know, at one time, a long time ago, there were families living in all of these houses. And again, that this was the average size of a home, which is not very big at all. But you know, at one time, all these homes were in different parts of San Jose and moved to this museum park at a point in time. So pretty interesting. And then up here is the fire station. So we'll read a little bit more about that. So this firehouse was the first official firehouse for San Jose in the 1870s, I believe is when it said. And before that, it was all volunteer firefighters. This is the first like official, you know, organized firehouse. So it's kind of crazy to think again that a city this huge and populated now at one time was so rural that there's basically just volunteer firefighters, and this did not come into being until the late, well, kind of latter half of the 1800s, and for a period of I think roughly 20 or 30 years was the only firehouse in the area. So you had one firehouse, so you better hope your little home like these over here did not catch on fire, because it would probably take some time for the firefighters to get there. So the Pacific Hotel is actually a replica. It looked like it was opened in 1880, and when it was opened it had 55 rooms, a bar, billiard, reading rooms, and a livery stable. And it was a German person who purchased it, so they specialized in serving German food. So this is actually just a recreation building, hence why there probably isn't a plaque And it's probably why I had to read that information off of my phone, but it came. Okay, so we're back. A few lessons learned. Number one is there's actually a lot to that park and a lot more to see, a lot more plaques to read, and apparently, and it's a lesson that I need to charge things before I go anywhere. Camera battery died, this phone's battery's about to die, and it's what's taking me home. So I gotta go now, but thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more of these vlogs, and I will talk to you guys later. Hopefully this was an interesting little bit of history for you. I don't know why I said it like that. Okay, bye.